Wow. Those images you shared of the LA wildfires, they're just devastating.
Yeah, really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean,
I,
you see those families who've lost absolutely
that
everything.
home's just gone, reduced to ash.
It's hard to imagine how you even begin to cope with that kind of loss,
Yeah.
you know?
It's true. But you know what's remarkable
What's that?
is how often, amidst all that chaos and despair, you see these incredible stories of resilience.
Resilience, yeah.
People finding strength, not just to survive, but to support each other, and to rebuild.
It's incredible. And sometimes that spark of hope, it comes from the most unexpected places.
Right.
Like, you asked us to do a deep dive into Barron Trump's response to the wildfires.
Hmm.
I got to admit, I was curious, like, what are we going to uncover here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day you see, the youngest son of a former president
Right.
taking such a hands-on approach to disaster relief. The thing that really jumped out at me from the sources was how deeply Barron was affected by the human cost of these fires.
Yeah, the sources described him as being, like, overwhelmed with sadness, even anger
Right.
at seeing all this suffering while he was safe in Florida.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just feeling bad. He
Mhm.
actually feels a sense of responsibility to actually do something,
Yeah.
which, especially for a teenager, isn't necessarily the typical response.
Right.
And this is where his mother, Melania Trump, plays a key role.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about Melania's involvement.
So, according to the sources, Barron initially turned to prayer to process his emotions.
Okay.
And Melania, recognizing the depth of his feelings and, maybe sensing an opportunity here,
Right.
shared his prayer with a media contact.
So that's how it ended up going viral.
Exactly.
It's interesting to consider Melania's motivations there, right?
Yeah.
Was it purely about amplifying her son's compassion, or was there maybe a strategic element to it as well?
It's a good question. One worth pondering, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's undeniable is that the public reacted, and they reacted strongly to Barron's prayer.
Yeah.
It was shared so widely, and many people were praising his empathy and seeing him as this, symbol of unity and hope.
Yeah, but as we know, Barron didn't stop at just words. He felt compelled to take action.
Right.
What was it about this situation that made him feel like he had to actually go to Los Angeles?
See, this is where we start to see the complexity of his response, right? He
Okay.
could have easily made a donation, issued a statement of support,
Right.
called it a day.
Hmm.
But there's this sense from the sources that he needed to do more, that he needed to connect with the people who were affected on a personal level.
So he asks his mother if they can go to L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the logistical hurdles,
Oh, absolutely.
the security concerns of transporting, the son of a former president to a disaster zone?
Yeah, absolutely. And the sources highlight how Melania had to pull some strings, make some high-level calls to make this trip happen.
Wow.
It's clear that she understood the importance of this for Barron, even if it meant going outside of their comfort zone.
So picture this. Barron arrives at a shelter packed with families who have lost everything.
Everything.
And he's not there for a photo op.
Yeah.
He's there to listen, to offer comfort, to just show that he cares.
This is where the sources really paint a vivid picture, right? You have Barron dressed down in jeans and a hoodie.
Okay.
He's surrounded by people who are grappling with just unimaginable loss.
Yeah.
Hearing stories of families being torn apart, homes reduced to ashes, lifetimes of memories just gone in an instant.
It's hard to fathom.
It is.
It must have been such a stark contrast to his own life.
Right, and yet he doesn't shy away from the rawness of the situation.
Yeah.
He doesn't try to offer empty platitudes
Yeah.
or pretend like he can understand their pain.
One detail that really stood out to me was how he just listened.
He did, yeah.
His eyes reflecting the pain of the people he was talking to.
Really taking it all in.
He wasn't there to be the center of attention. He
Yeah.
wasn't there to offer quick fixes. He was just there to be present,
Yeah.
just to offer a sense of shared humanity.
Absolutely. And there's this one encounter that really illustrates this point, right?
Yeah.
He meets this young boy who asks him directly, "Are you here to help us?"
Oh, wow.
And Barron's response, it's so simple, yet so powerful.
What did he say?
He said, "I'm here to listen, to pray, and to let you know you're not alone."
Wow.
There's no grandstanding. There are no promises he can't keep.
Right.
Just a genuine desire to connect and offer comfort.
It makes you wonder how those words landed with the people in the shelter.
It does, yeah.
Did they see him as just another politician's son? Or did they sense something more genuine in his actions?
Yeah, that's the key question, right?
Hmm.
Was he able to transcend his family's political baggage and connect with these families on a human level?
Right.
Well, that's what we're going to explore further as we delve deeper into these sources.
Speaking of deeper dives, one story really stood out from all the others. The story of this little girl, Lily, who lost her golden retriever, Max, during the evacuation.
Heartbreaking.
And this is where we see Barron's empathy turning into concrete action.
Right.
He could have easily offered words of comfort and moved on, but something about Lily's story really resonated with him.
It did.
The sources described him as being visibly moved by her heartbreak, and he made a promise to help find Max.
Yeah.
And he actually followed through on that promise.
He did. He directed his security team to coordinate with animal rescue teams, using his resources, his connections, to launch a full-scale search for this lost dog.
It's a small gesture in the grand scheme of things,
Hmm?
but it speaks volumes about his character.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, some might argue that he could have been focusing on bigger picture issues like fundraising or lobbying for policy changes,
Right.
but this focus on helping one little girl find her dog reveals a different side of his approach.
Yeah, it suggests that he's not just interested in making grand pronouncements
Right.
or taking credit for large-scale initiatives.
Yeah.
He's willing to get his hands dirty, focus on the individual needs of those affected, even if it seems like a small thing.
And it's not just about finding Max.
Yeah.
It's about restoring a sense of hope and normalcy in the midst of chaos.
Right.
It's about showing Lily that even in the darkest of times, good things can still happen.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful actions are the ones that focus on the individual,
Yeah.
on those small acts of kindness that can make a world of difference.
Okay, so we've got Barron connecting with families, offering comfort, and even launching a search for a lost dog.
It's quite a story.
Where does it go from here?
Well, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore how Barron's actions inspired a wave of support that extended far beyond the borders of Los Angeles.
I can't wait.
Me neither.
We left off with Barron Trump, actually making that personal commitment to help reunite that little girl with her lost dog. It's such a heartwarming story.
It is.
But it also raises a question for me.
Yeah.
Was this just a one-off act of kindness, or was this part of like a larger effort to really make a difference?
You know, what's interesting is that this act of helping Lily find her dog, it seems to have been a catalyst for Barron. It's
Yeah.
like it really opened his eyes to this even greater need for support, for resources in these fire-ravaged communities.
So he didn't just stop at reuniting Lily with her dog?
No, he didn't.
What did he do next?
So the sources detail how he decided to use his platform to launch this fundraising campaign for the wildfire victims.
Right.
He understood that while finding Max brought joy to one family,
Right.
there were countless others out there who were struggling to rebuild their lives.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But using your platform is one thing. Like, did people actually respond to his call for donations?
The response was overwhelming.
Really?
Yeah, people from all walks of life donated to this campaign. I mean, we're talking kids emptying their piggy banks, we're talking celebrities writing big checks,
Wow.
even major corporations matching donations.
That's amazing. It sounds like he really tapped into something powerful.
He did.
What do you think it was about his message that resonated so deeply with people?
Well, the sources suggest that it was his sincerity, and his focus on the human impact of this disaster.
Mm-hmm.
During a live-streamed event for the fundraiser, he said something that really stuck with me.
Okay.
He reminded everyone that these weren't just statistics, or news headlines.
Right.
These were real people with real pain who needed their help.
Yeah, it's easy to become desensitized to tragedy when you're just constantly bombarded with news coverage.
Absolutely.
But hearing it framed that way, focusing on the individual stories,
Yeah.
it really changes the perspective.
It does. And Barron didn't just talk about helping. He actually demonstrated it through his own actions.
Okay.
He visited a fire station near one of the hardest hit areas and spent time with the firefighters who were putting their lives on the line to contain the blaze.
It's interesting that he chose to visit a fire station.
Yeah.
You might expect someone in his position to focus more on, like, the victims directly.
You would.
But this suggests he recognized the sacrifices being made by the first responders as well.
He did, absolutely. And he listened to their stories. He acknowledged the toll that the fires were taking on them. And he even arranged for supplies to be delivered to the station.
What kind of supplies?
Oh, things like water, snacks, even new boots for those who had worn theirs out battling the flames.
It's those little details that really speak volumes,
They do.
It's one thing to offer words of support.
Right.
It's another to actually show up and do something tangible to help.
And this act of recognizing the firefighters, it seemed to have like a ripple effect.
Oh, really?
Yeah, donations to the fundraiser increased, and people started sending messages of support not only to the victims, but to the firefighters as well. It's like he was shining a light on a group of heroes that are often overlooked or taken for granted.
Absolutely.
And speaking of shining a light,
Yeah.
there's this one story that really captures the impact of Barron's actions.
Okay.
He received this handwritten letter from a woman named Sarah,
Okay.
a mother who had been evacuated with her children.
Okay, I remember Sarah's letter from the sources. What was it about her story that made it so significant?
Well, Sarah wrote about how she and her kids, they were feeling utterly lost, terrified during this evacuation.
Right.
And they saw Barron's prayer on TV,
Okay.
and it gave them the sense of comfort, the sense of hope when they needed it most.
So it wasn't just about the financial support or the physical help he was offering.
No.
It was about that emotional impact, the sense of connection, the solidarity that he was creating.
Precisely. And what's remarkable is that Barron actually shared Sarah's letter during another live stream.
Oh, wow.
He recognized the power of her story to inspire others and to demonstrate this ripple effect of even the smallest acts of kindness.
That's where the true power of his platform comes into play.
Yeah.
He wasn't just using it to raise money.
No?
He was using it to amplify the voices of those who were affected, to tell their stories, and to create this sense of shared experience.
Exactly. And Sarah's letter, it went viral.
Wow.
Shared thousands of times. People were incredibly moved by her words.
It's amazing how one letter, one act of kindness, can have such a widespread impact.
It is. And while all of this was happening, back at the shelter where Barron was staying,
Okay.
a remarkable transformation was taking place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, families who had initially been strangers, united only by their shared loss,
Right.
were starting to form these bonds of support and friendship.
So it wasn't just Barron bringing people together.
Yo.
It was the shared experience of the disaster itself.
Absolutely.
People helping each other, finding strength in community.
Yes, and the sources describe how Barron was right there in the middle of it all.
He didn't just observe from a distance.
No, he was participating, sharing meals, playing games with the kids, and offering a listening ear to anyone who needed it.
There's a particularly moving scene described where a mother is reunited with her teenage son after being separated during the evacuation.
Yeah, what a moment.
It's a moment of pure joy amidst all the heartbreak.
It is.
It's a reminder of those powerful bonds of family.
And Barron is there witnessing this reunion.
Yeah.
Not as a celebrity or a politician's son, but just as a fellow human being,
Right.
sharing in the emotion of the moment.
Sounds like he was able to step outside of his own identity and connect with people on a deeply personal level.
Yeah, and as the wildfires were gradually contained and evacuation orders were lifted, families began to cautiously return to their devastated neighborhoods.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like.
I know.
Returning to a place that holds so many memories only to find it destroyed.
Yeah,
The grief, the sense of loss.
must have been overwhelming.
It must have been.
The sources paint this vivid picture of this return. Charred remains of houses, trees reduced to ashes, the silence where there was once life.
Yeah.
But even amidst this devastation, there were these signs of resilience.
Resilience.
It's like a single rose bush that had somehow survived the flames.
It's a powerful image.
It is.
A reminder that even after the most destructive fire, life finds a way to persist.
Absolutely. And Barron was there to witness this return, to stand with the residents as they faced this daunting task of rebuilding their lives.
It's interesting that he chose to stay with them even after the immediate crisis had passed.
Yeah.
It suggests a deeper commitment, a recognition that the road to recovery is long and arduous.
And he didn't just offer words of encouragement.
No.
He continued to raise funds, to advocate for resources, and to shine a light on the ongoing needs of the community.
Okay, so we've seen Barron offer comfort, take action, inspire others to get involved.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, how did all of this affect him personally? Did his experience in Los Angeles change him in any way?
That's a great question, and it's one we're going to explore further as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned as we examine the lasting impact of Barron's actions and the lessons he learned from this extraordinary experience.
You know, we've seen Barron Trump go from this place of feeling helpless watching these wildfires unfold from afar to really becoming a beacon of hope amidst all this devastation.
Yeah, it's quite a journey.
It's really made me think differently about him, that's for sure.
I can understand that.
But I am curious, what happened after the immediate crisis passed?
Yeah.
Did he just go back to his life? Or did this experience have a lasting impact?
Well, it'd be easy to assume that someone in his position might have just made a brief appearance, done some good deeds, and moved on, right?
Right.
But the sources actually reveal a much deeper level of commitment from Barron.
Really?
He didn't just disappear once the cameras were gone.
So what did he do to stay involved in the recovery process?
Well, he continued to leverage his platform to raise awareness about the ongoing needs of these fire-affected communities.
Okay.
He shared updates on the rebuilding efforts, he highlighted individual stories of resilience, and he encouraged people to continue donating to the relief fund that he established.
So you really understood that recovery from a disaster like this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Exactly. And his efforts, they had a significant impact.
Yeah.
The fundraiser he launched, it ended up raising millions of dollars, far exceeding initial expectations.
Wow.
And beyond the financial support, his consistent advocacy really helped to keep the spotlight on the issue.
It did.
Ensuring that the needs of these communities weren't forgotten.
It's interesting to consider how his actions might have influenced public perception. He comes from a family that's often been associated with division and controversy.
Right.
Did this experience maybe change the way people viewed him?
Well, it's hard to say for certain, but the sources suggest that his response to these wildfires did soften some hearts and minds.
Yeah.
People from across the political spectrum praised his compassion and his willingness to step up and help.
Right.
It seemed like, at least for a moment, he was able to transcend the political baggage and connect with people on a purely human level.
There's something really powerful about that, seeing someone reach across those divides and focus on the common good.
There is.
It gives you a sense of hope, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It speaks to this idea that empathy and compassion have the power to bridge even the deepest divides.
So Barron raises millions, keeps the spotlight on the recovery efforts, and maybe even helps to heal some of those societal rifts.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive stuff for a teenager.
It is.
But how did this experience change him?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, the sources describe how he returned to Los Angeles several months after the fires.
Okay.
This time, it wasn't about being in the spotlight. It wasn't about managing a PR campaign.
Right.
It was about reconnecting with the people he had met and witnessing firsthand the progress that they had made in rebuilding their lives.
Did he go visit Lily and Max?
He did.
I'd love to know how that reunion went.
Oh, it's a sweet story. The sources describe Lily as just overjoyed to see him. She showed him her new home and a scrapbook filled with pictures of Max, who had clearly settled back into their lives.
Oh, that's great.
It was a heartwarming moment that captured the resilience of both the human and animal spirit.
It makes you realize that even amidst tragedy, there's always room for hope and for healing.
There is, and Barron didn't just reconnect with Lily.
Okay.
He also visited the fire station where he had met Captain Ramirez.
Right?
The firefighter who had been so moved by his support.
Yeah.
And Captain Ramirez presented him with a firefighter's helmet,
Wow.
a symbol of the bond they had formed during the crisis.
That's incredible. It sounds like these weren't just fleeting encounters,
No.
but genuine connections that had a lasting impact on both Barron and the people he met.
And you can really see that impact reflected in his own words,
Yeah.
In an interview after his return visit, he said something that really stuck with me.
What was that?
He said, "It's not about me, it's about the people who never gave up, even when everything seemed lost."
It's a powerful statement.
It is.
Reveals a shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It's no longer about him being the hero or the savior.
Right.
It's about recognizing the strength and the resilience of the people he helped.
Exactly. And it highlights the transformative power of empathy.
Yeah.
By stepping outside of his own privileged bubble and truly engaging with the suffering of others, Barron seems to have gained a deeper understanding of himself and his place in the world.
What does this all mean for us? You and I are just two people having a conversation.
Right.
We don't have millions to donate or a platform to reach millions of people.
Right.
Can we really make a difference, inspired by Barron's example?
Absolutely. In fact, I think Barron's story really highlights this idea that meaningful change doesn't always require those grand gestures or vast resources.
Yeah.
It's often those small acts of kindness, those individual moments of connection that have the most profound impact.
So it's not about trying to become Barron Trump or replicate his actions exactly. It's about finding our own ways to embody those values of empathy, compassion, and service.
Exactly. It could be as simple as volunteering at a local food bank,
Right.
donating to a cause you believe in, or simply offering a listening ear to someone who's struggling.
Yeah.
Every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the potential to create a ripple effect.
It's like that old saying, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. And I think Barron's story is this powerful reminder that even in the face of immense tragedy and division,
Yeah,
there's always hope.
there is.
There's always the potential for healing, for growth, and for a brighter future.
Beautifully said. So for you listening out there, what will your act of kindness be today
Yeah, what small step can you take?
to make the world a little bit brighter?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.